Hi Harshal. Hi Ashna. Hi Navin.
Hi.
Hey, hi
Yes.
team.
Yes,
Hey everyone.
absolute pleasure to have you guys for the session.
Sorry, we didn't get you.
Yeah, it was like absolute pleasure to have all of you here in this session.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited to be here.
Cool. So I mean, like while we let people join in, so I'll just sort of get started with the introduction. And so good morning or good evening, folks from wherever you're joining in from, and welcome to this session. And before we get going, I'll just sort of introduce myself. So this is Sheen here. So I'll be the host. For this session. I'll be a host for the session, and we'll be talking about how businesses can stay afloat and move in the right direction during an economic downturn. And I mean, like a lot of people have been asking us questions, and we've not yet even moved out of the previous downturn, which started with the pandemic and all of that. And I believe that with an economic crisis sort of touted to be coming our way, a lot of store owners would certainly benefit from trying to understand from business leaders as to how they can go about their business during a time like this. So I'm really hopeful that this session is going to be very insightful for a lot of store owners. And so we decided to talk about this very specific subject because it'll also help them be a lot more prepared this time around to handle an incoming crisis situation. And so in today's session, for people to sort of reiterate, so we have three distinguished panelists who've been running businesses during the crisis times, and each one of them brings across a lot of a wealth of information and insight with them. So we've always believed that for e-commerce stores to thrive during an economic recession, two things are going to be like really key. And one is the sort of shopping experience that you offer with your business during a time like this, and the customer retention. Obviously, like it's going to be super important. So we'll try to talk about those things in this session, and what approaches store owners can take during a time like this. So even before I introduce the panelists, so I'd like to let everybody here know that Kasambi from Mason, who was supposed to join us today, unfortunately couldn't because she fell ill. So instead of Kasambi, Ashna Sikri from Mason, whose growth product manager, has joined us for the session. Welcome, Ashna. And we also have Navin from Navin Santosh, co-founder and COO of VAJRO, with us as the second panelist. And alongside both of them is Harshal Jain, founder and CEO at GLOOD.AI. Welcome all of you.
Thank you, Sheen, for such a warm introduction.
Yes, thanks a lot for that.
Thank you. So we see that people are still joining in, and I think I'll just sort of run through what the session is going to be on, and sort of give a small introduction about the panelists here. So what we'll be running through in this session is how the e-commerce industry could be impacted by a possible upcoming slowdown, and how stores can prepare in advance to handle a crisis situation like this, and what sort of moves should every store owner or an e-commerce store owner be making when a slowdown like this approaches, and should you be cutting short on your finances, or why you should be practicing cutting down, or why you should possibly invest and a little bit on that, and also how networking can actually be a huge blessing during a downturn time like this. And we'll also sort of focus on how store owners can prepare mentally during a crisis time like this. So I'm pretty hopeful that this all is going to really help store owners in the year to come. And so before we get into the session itself, I'll sort of introduce our esteemed panelists for the session. So Aishna from Mason. So she started her marketing career driving retention and loyalty initiatives at Milk Basket, focusing on the leaky bucket problem. So that's a huge problem that a lot of businesses set out to solve. So she's also led DTC growth at Boat, and she's had the opportunity to be a part of the 9x growth in 9 months, a rocket ship journey. So we're pretty sure she's got a lot to bring in from that, and she's always been keen to make a large impact with smaller teams, and she's really been involved with a lot of things, like from retention, content marketing, SEO, conversion rate optimization, and building partnerships as well. She's currently a growth product manager at Mode Magic, powered by Mason, so which is a VC-backed store automation engine. So in just about a couple of years, Mode Magic has been trusted by over 15,000 e-commerce stores worldwide. So welcome to the session, Aishna.
Thanks so much. Super excited to be here.
Same here. We're also super excited to have you. And our second panelist for the session is Nivin Santosh. So he's been on an entrepreneurial journey right from his college days. So he's always been passionate about building an amazing product and delivering really good customer experiences. So during his tenure as a computer science graduate, he was a part of the Microsoft student exchange program, where he's worked with a lot of great minds on cutting edge technologies. And today with VAJRO, he's helped over 2,500 plus Shopify stores build a mobile app for their business and make tons of revenue. So Nivin spends most of his time helping out product and customer facing teams, and he's also an avid sports enthusiast. So he's either working on the product or playing sport most of the time. So welcome to today's session, Nivin. Absolute pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Sheen. I think I think that's a very fancy introduction. I think I'm just a humble entrepreneur trying to do the best for our customers, for our team, right? I think just like all of us here. So that's about it. Thank you.
Pleasure to have you in. So so alongside Aishna and Nivin, we have Harshal, our third and final panelist. So Harshal is the founder and CEO at GLOOD.AI. So he's everything product development and technology of AI and ML infrastructure that powers thousands of D2C brands today. So he's scaled and built multiple data systems from scratch. And previously he's led building an intelligent buying system, and also worked on recommendations serving layer at Flipkart. And he's also built a lot of things with Hive.ai. So and he's a distinguished contributor in the CRO ML platform and the e-commerce space. So he brings across with him unparalleled wealth of knowledge. So welcome to this session, Harshal.
Thank you, Sheen. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. So happy to be here.
Thank you. So now that we've had an introduction of all the panelists, so we'll sort of quickly get into the session and sort of focus on what e-commerce stores should be doing during an economic downturn time like this. So let me sort of quickly get started with a very basic question. Maybe Nevin, you can take this one. So has the recession started, or is it yet to start? And like, what are the main factors that sort of lead to an economic downturn like this?
Yeah, I can take that, Sheen. I think fundamentally, if you look at what recession is, right, it's to simply put it, it's just a significant decline in economic activity of a particular country or globally, right? So what that means is it's not just about the country's GDP shrinking and stuff like that, right? You should look at it from a people perspective as well. That only then everyone can relate to it. So I think it means that whatever you see surrounding you in terms of economic activity, right? So you will see decline in income of close folks, and then you will see a decline in terms of employment. You would see a lot of companies laying off or cutting down their overall headcount, and then there will be a drop in industrial production, and all of this is kind of going to trickle down, and then finally it's going to affect the retail sales as well, right? So that is what a recession usually is, right? That's how it pans out. And so in this case, right, why I believe that recession has started, and is all about how Federal Reserve has been trying to curb inflation in the US, and then I think right now the interest rate are highest since many decades, and they have already announced one of the biggest interest rate hikes. So what that means is, and they're right now in a mode where I think they're not able to curb the inflation anymore. They're kind of in a mode to kind of ready to rip off the band-aid, I say that. And so that means that there could be more jump in borrowing costs, which can affect all of these macroeconomic factors, which I said earlier. So that's going to slowly trickle down into everyone, right? So I think that's where we believe that it's going to slowly creep into the retail market as well. And it's not just the US, right? So even though I mentioned that, I think every country is going to be affected by one form or another, and so that's going to be a global thing. The impact is going to vary depending on how each and every country works. But I think at a higher level, the recession has slowly started. We would see the bigger impact as we keep going further and further. So yeah.
True, absolutely. Like I think we've already been hearing and seeing enough in the media and the press about how different industries are reacting to the slowdown, and with cost cutting and stuff. So totally agree with you on that. Aishna, so I just wanted to pick your mind on similar lines as too. So in specific, now that we're talking about the e-commerce industry, so how do you think this particular industry would be impacted by a possible slowdown? How do you think that happens?
I mean, we've been on quite a roller coaster, right from COVID and then recession hitting in. And so there's a lot of, I do see or sense a lot of fear when it comes to e-commerce, where what's going to happen. But there's something I would say that I believe we at More Magic, or overall, I also believe in, which is the flip side. And for us, that's the flip side that matters, that we're also in the age of tech enablement, right? So it's a lot more easier for brands today to go online. You don't really have so much complexity. We're also seeing a no-code revolution. And so you can really see the masses who have something to offer come online and bring their product online. And we'll continue to see that diversity of brands continuing to offer much more to the customers. And then the other side of it, right, the customer. Like considering everyone from tier 2, tier 3, you're just going online, right? Now they're creating videos. So it's so much easier for them to shop. And when you look at that sort of journey where it's just going to happen, that brands are going to go online and customers are going to be able to shop. And so you can keep looking at the economic turndown, but we also believe that that's something that's not going to change, that the fact that the customers are going to shop. Like we saw during COVID, people were still shopping. They could be shopping for something different, like COVID led to the rise of grocery or edtech. It could be something else. But we believe that, there may be an economic downturn and things are definitely changing. But with the fact that it's just a lot easier for brands to go online, that's going to continue to rise. So that's sort of the mindset that we look at it as.
Totally agree with that. I mean, like, so yeah, we've actually seen a lot of businesses go online in the last couple of years, more than we've probably ever seen. And totally agree that this the trend of customers purchasing online is probably going to stick around. And Harshal, I'll quickly come over to you on that. So where do you think the customer behavior could change, or do you think it would bear an impact on the customer behavior, an economic downturn? How do you see this?
So customer behavior, it is highly dependent on liquidity. The more the money that they have, the more they're willing to spend. When the liquidity crunch is there, when they're not able to generate enough money, then obviously it is going to trickle down and then impact the purchasing power. In this downturn, I think the only positive I see at this moment is that the unemployment rate is still not high. It has actually been reducing a lot over the last few months, and that basically means that people are still making money, even though there is a crunch with respect to, let's say, the financing of POs or getting loans for businesses or getting growth capital. There's obviously a crunch, but ultimately people are still getting paid. Maybe that is due to a recent upshot of the demand after COVID. So that is something which is actually a positive sign. And even though there's a reduction in expenditure, that movement of money is still there. However, there's obviously a redistribution of money when there is a crunch. You will see a lot of movement of money from luxury and impulse purchases to commodities and essential goods. So that is one behavior we will see, a shift that we will see in the customer behavior. In addition to that, people will basically try to get a better deal. They would look for bargains. So people would essentially move away from offline purchase to online purchase. So that is actually a benefit which the online retailers will get. And that is something that they should capitalize on. For example, loyalty is extremely important these days. You definitely want to capture customers as soon as possible and ensure that they stay with you, they stick with you. So you have to be very careful with your loyalty programs. So there are obviously changes which will happen when it comes to customer behavior, the whole shift in the expenditure. But I see some positive signs as well for the online retailers as well. And one thing we should keep in mind is there's obviously going to be an uptick in purchases. So this is not a permanent downturn. This is obviously a temporary downturn. So at the end of the day, after a few months or a couple of years, there's obviously going to be an increase in demand as the liquidity increases or the revenue increase, the customer expenditure increases. So that is something that we have to look forward to. And we make sure that we are able to ride through this and navigate this downturn and go to much sunnier, brighter days.
Right.
Definitely, like one of the things I feel that like for a lot of e-commerce brands that's definitely happening is that the whole CAC crisis. And I think that's like along with the downturn, that's definitely something that they constantly worry about, but it's also like a second opportunity. Like being online is opportunity. while CACs go down. You can look at customer experience. So if you really become your customer's partner, zero data partnerships, or if you have that D2C presence, you can always leverage that as well.
Yep. On you with that, Ishna. So and Harshal, like when you mentioned the shift in terms of how people purchase during a crisis time like this. So that sort of brings into the picture of how, in that case, how do businesses, from a business perspective, how do you think they've survived? They should survive, or you've seen businesses survive in the past when they put through a crisis situation like this. How do businesses take this?
So for businesses, the first and foremost thing they should be doing at this point is reevaluating everything. They always have targets, they always have a plan, and that is something which constantly evolves. When the situation is changing, they have to make sure that what is the impact of the external factors on their business. So evaluate everything. Evaluate how much CAC increase is going to be there, how much of a revenue loss is going to be there. If there is a decline in AOV, how much of a decline is going to be, and depending on that, make sure you have plans or you are changing the direction that the company is taking. Ultimately, there is only one goal at this point in time, which is to survive. That is the only goal every business should have. And most of our businesses who are actually not making money, not making enough cash in this moment to reinvest in the business. So for them, it is very essential to reevaluate everything and make sure that they have everything, at least at this point, figured out, take all the necessary actions that are required, be it cutting expenditure, be it reducing, let's say, the ad spend, reducing the marketing spend, and look for more revenues. So it is not about reduction in GMV, reduction in the revenues. It is mostly about reduction in the losses. If it is not a profit-making business, if it is a profit-making business, and then they see that, hey, there is going to be a decline in the profit, then try to figure out more avenues of increasing the revenues. Maybe try and figure out more channels of selling. Try to be innovative. A lot of people who actually reduce R&D expenditure at this point, and from what I have seen last few days, R&D is something which should continue to happen, because that is where you're trying to innovate, be it for the product, be it for the process, be it for the marketing or gaining customers. So invest in R&D. That is one very important advice. And if you see all the good businesses, they invest a lot in R&D, try to figure out, try to improve the product, and try to give more value to the customers. Because that is ultimate goal for any business, to try and create as much value for the customer as possible. So try to implement these things. And then when you have existing customers, brand loyalty is something which is very important. You have to hold on to your customers. So try to create new loyalty programs. If you don't have any at this moment, aggressively market your loyalty programs, so that whenever there's a recovery and whenever somebody wants to purchase a product, they think of you first rather than thinking of the competitor. Because a lot of people will go out, try to look for a better deal. And when they look out for a better, they should remember you before making any other purchase.
Exactly. Yeah, and great correlation in terms of trying to tie up how businesses should approach this, and also focus on their existing loyalty programs and retention and all of that. So like quickly over to you, Navin. So since you've been working with e-commerce, specifically e-commerce stores in particular, and with Shopify over the last half of a decade, and just wanted to get your opinion on how do you think in specific e-commerce stores should be preparing for this, and how do you think their businesses their business could get affected during a time like this? And what do you think they should do?
Yep. I think, my dear friend Harshul, I think answered some part of that question, right? I think in a very decent and clear way, right? I think what I would say is, from a fundamental shift from a customer standpoint, right? What's going to happen is they're going to focus on the question and then say, hey, do I need this product versus, hey, do I want this product, right? I think that shift in focus is what a store owner should be really focusing on. So, and I love what Harshul mentioned, right? Especially from the R&D front. I think Shopify as an ecosystem has been so well. I see every partner in the ecosystem helping each other, helping all the merchant by giving some form of a helping hand, especially during the time of recession. I saw that happening a big way during the COVID crisis, right? I think everyone offered an extended free trial or a free version of their product. I think that is where that's something they need to be prepared to really take advantage of. But just going back to the circle, right? Going back to the starting point of all of this, I think what a brand should embrace at this point of is very clearly understand their mission, right? Like why, right? The why can be for multiple questions. Why would an end user think that I need your product, right? I think that's the first question. And then why do they love you as a brand, right? I think even with respect to need, then there are also other competitors. They should love you as a brand, right? They should connect. I think this is the perfect time for you to think about, okay, how do I be customer centric, right? Can put yourself in the customer's shoes, think about how they relate to you, why they're saying that, okay, hey, I love this brand, I love this product, right? I need to buy this irrespective of the decision, right? I think that is a questions you need to find answers and get it very, very clear in your head, right? I think that's going to be important from a customer centricity angle. And that is going to help you, as Ashna mentioned, right? I think that's going to help you create good experiences. I think experience comes from a true customer understanding, right? You can't create experiences just because you like something, right? You always put your customer first. I think that customer centricity is something you need to kind of see as we keep increasing our revenue or our growth, right? Customer centricity, even though it's a crux, it kind of gets sidelined with all the operational stuff that's going on, right? There's so much happening as an entrepreneur for you. So you just need to make sure that, bring that to the center to make sure that, okay, that drives everything else. I think that's going to be one important factor. And the other thing you need to also be aware of is how you manage your cost and CAC, as Arshun mentioned, right? I think during this time, you need to understand how the basic metric works. Unit metrics are very important for any business during these times. You need to understand your cost of acquisition. You need to understand and how your conversions usually work. You need to look at your visitor data for your store. You need to make sure that your current channels are showing the same number of visitors as it was earlier, right? If you see a trend line which is going in the downward direction, you need to make sure you understand your sales forecast as well, because one bad thing that could happen during these times is you would end up with a lot of unsold inventories, right? You have to refresh. It's very important to do a fresh product drop. So you need to make sure that the inventory system and the inventory projections are also very clear. I think getting to the basics, it can be as simple as putting pen to the paper and just looking at the numbers, right? But I think that's something every merchant should be prepared for and start doing. It's just a simple way of building that discipline, because some of the best brands that have come out in a big way, right? I think they fundamentally were built during the big recession time in 2008, where some big economic downturn happened, right? I think these brands, that's the time they actually went back to the basics, went back to the drawing board and said, hey, I will make sure the fundamentals are right. As long as that is good, the moment I will still survive, right? I'm not saying that it will even be a downturn during the actual downturn. For the business, they'll still survive. They'll even grow, but at a slower rate. But the moment the growth happens, right, at a bigger economic level, you're going to blast your sales off, right? I think that's going to be important. So I would say focus on, I think, to put it simply, understand the change in psychology and focus on your key metrics and make sure you build the discipline and make decisions based on that. So that would be my answer.
Yeah, and I mean that it makes a lot of sense to sort of pay a lot more attention to understanding what the customer needs at that particular point in time, and what sort of an experience and what sort of value you need to be shipping as a business or a store owner. So like, even before we move on, like, I just wanted to drop this question to our audience today. I mean, like, we know you guys have been also running businesses over a period of time, and you can drop in into the comment section as to what sort of challenges that you faced in the past, and like we certainly want to look at that and factor that in the session or towards the end when we open the session up for questions. So do drop in your thoughts on the changes that you witnessed as a store owner, and how you've seen the e-commerce industry in specific react to the pandemic that we are just getting past or probably running through. So please do that. And so Ishna, I'll come to you for the next. So Niman did mention about how e-commerce stores what they should be wary of, and trying to understand a few things about their customers or circumstances and all of it. So I'd like to pick your brain on the same, trying to understand. So during a crisis time like this, what sort of operations should an e-commerce store continue to run to scale their business, and what sort of tactics should they be deploying during a time like this?
Great, thanks, Sheen. Some amazing, very on point suggestions from both our speakers, because the truth lies in customer centricity. And as long as our users today are inundated with ads, and like we would have all read HubSpot saying 70% of users don't even trust social media ads. And the reason is because we live in maybe a cynical customer space, or even a more woke. We live with more woke customers who want and who expect better experiences, more seamless experiences, right? So we're looking at a generation that's that can identify, say, fake from you would look at an ad and you'd be like, oh no, they're just trying to sell to me. And so no one just wants to be sold to anymore. What even customers expect out of brands is real consumer relationship. And that is what is very, very essential to nurture going forward. And so we're sort of in that era where I still feel it's a huge opportunity more than a crisis, because if you are a brand that values customer relationship, you would be a front runner. And so in terms of tactics, I would think of like I've run a D2C store. We've seen these at board, and we've had these short-handed teams, lack of you're not always, you don't always have everything in place. You have a smaller team, but you still want to grow fast. And so you have multiple functions happening. One of the key, and I think that's something that Mode Magic solves for example, which is automate your store. It's a simple solution, right? You have a shorter team. Why is your team spending, say, so much time during a product launch, for example, thinking of, has the inventory gone live? Have I updated my catalog? Or when we're running sales, say, for example, every 15 days, that's something Naveen mentioned, right? That, or even Harshul mentioned, how the consumers want more discounts. And we're running sales every 15 days. But as an e-com store, I'm constantly worried about, is my sale on, are my designs on point? I'm constantly updating my store. And then I realize, oh shit, I missed the announcement bar, or I missed something here and something there. But when you look at how there are tons of no-code automation tools out there that can simplify your life, that can reduce the time you're spending, because once you invest in these tools, your team is a lot more free to think about strategies, brainstorm experiments, rather than just spend time executing, which no one really wants to do anymore either. When you want to bring the best to the table, right? You want to think about how can I really add value to my customer? You don't always want to get lost in the nitty-gritties. And that's something like I truly believe in, that the more time you can save for your team and the more time you can give back to them, where they can genuinely think of adding value to customers, that's a huge advantage to have in these times.
Absolutely, and like really, that was a really good point on how people like need to invest in the right places and sort of make sure, like when during a lean marketing time like this, how they can use automations to not like sort of get lost in the process and continue to stay on top of their game, and sort of make the most out of a situation like this. And I think Nevin would certainly be in total agreement of that as well.
Yeah, I was about to say that, Sheen. I think it's very important, right? Especially during a product launch. Imagine you, and then there is your competitor. You have a tool like Mode Magic where you're able to instantly automate every single stuff during this launch, and you can do a lot about customer launch. So you can go to a social media, you can do a live video, and then think about how to create experience, talk about it. You can do a reel about the launch while your competitor. You also have to understand to save your effort and time and try to reinvest at the right space. I think that's going to be very important, right? I think I would 100% agree with Ashna on that.
Absolutely, Nevin. Apologies on the disturbance. I just lost fire. So I like quickly move across to Harshal, because I was about to ask him something on the same as like, should companies be investing in technology or tools during a recession time like this? What's your take on that?
I mean, absolutely. See, necessity is the mother of all inventions, right? So never shy away from investing in something that can make your life easier. It is as simple as that. Yeah, this is a situation where you want to improve the efficiency of your processes. If technology can help there, absolutely go ahead and invest in that. You want to give a good experience to your visitors, absolutely make use of technology so that it can improve the conversions and AOV on your website. So do not shy away from investing in new technologies just because there is a downturn. But yes, be considerate of the fact that the technology you're investing in should give you a positive ROI. So that is something we should always validate. We should always evaluate everything that we are investing in, whether it is just the technology for the website or mobile app or for marketing, and figure out, hey, which one is the best out there and which can give you a better ROI. That will help you not just reduce cost, it will also improve the efficiency of your whole system. At the end of the day, your customers are getting a much better experience, whether it is a better product or it is a much better on-site experience or much better delivery experience or return experience. So never shy away from investing in new technologies. And always try to invest and see what is out there. There are a lot of brands who are actually not investing in technologies who just stop investing in new technologies thinking, hey, this is just an additional expenditure at this point, and then they should do away with it. But ultimately, it hurts them in the long run. What they should understand is companies are supposed to last for over 50 years. Downturns, they last for 1.5 to 2 years. At the end of the day, you basically want to navigate the time period, and whatever helps you navigate that, you should definitely do that. But always try to look beyond it. Invest in technologies, invest in areas that can create a much better outcome for the business in the long run.
Got it. Totally with you on that, Harshal. Like, and I think over the last couple of years, like we've seen people invest in a lot of tools. Like we've personally seen people go for mobile apps and sort of scale their businesses over the last couple of years with VAJRO. So it totally sort of makes sense from that angle. And so Nevin, quickly over to you. So apart from the tools, and sort of the tech spend that people are looking at, how do you think they can on the other hand prepare mentally to sort of navigate their business through a lean patch like this?
Yeah, I think it's very important to understand what stage of the business you are in, right? I think Just to put a simple analogy, right? So let's say you're sailing in the ocean, you could be sailing on your own in a simple kayak, or you can be sailing along with your team in a big boat, or you can be sailing with a huge team in a big ship, right? But depending on who you are and which type of industry, right? I think Harshal mentioned about two categories, right? There is this essentials, which are going to be even more focused on during the time of recession, and versus there are more like, you know, luxury stuff, and then, you know, something nice to have stuff that are going to be like receiving lesser focus during a time of recession, right? I think you need to understand which bucket you fall into. You can even be overlap between the two buckets, right? If that's the case, I think you should be mentally prepared to focus more about, you know, positioning your brand around the essentials part. I think that's going to be very important, right? I think, and you also need to just going back to the same analogy, I think you also need to understand that, you know, depending on where you fall, you need to think about, okay, what do I do about that? There's a big wave coming, right? The wave can topple things in any manner, right? So you need to understand, how do I stay put? How do I keep sailing? Or if I'm selling something like essentials, okay, this is the right time for me to cruise through, right? Put more effort into it, invest in the right tools, make sure that, you know, you create a better customer experience and cruise through the waves. Or, okay, I think it's better to ride the wave and then let the wave pass, right? And then you think about, you know, moving faster. I think you need to understand that that's going to be important. Just to give an example, right? There are two ways to look at cutting costs, right? So let's say that you are investing X, Y, and Z right now, and you feel that X alone is very important. You can think about just cutting the cost on Y and Z, or you can think about saving to reinvest in more into X, right? Just go deeper, double down on whatever you're doing in X, because you know for sure X is going to work out for you. This X can be something you are expanding in terms of a new channel, or it can be about, you know, whatever you're spending in a performance marketing, or it can be about a good partnership which you can do in terms of, you know, co-marketing with a complementary brand, be it in their social media or be it with their email campaigns in any ways, right? Or you can even invent newer models of ways to sell product. If subscription model works for you, invest in the tool and think. And again, right, beautiful ecosystem we have at Shopify. Try to, you know, try some subscription tools, check if it works for you, check if your customers love. Just send feelers by sending out emails saying that, hey, you know, people getting the subscriptions, I love to give you a discount. Who are all interested, just get the feelers out, right? I think these are going to be important. So mentally preparing yourself, trying to understand where your business lies and what are all the opportunities you should be exploring, and what are all the opportunities or what are the experiments you should be cutting down. I think those are going to be important, and the store should start thinking about it seriously. Discuss this, ideate with their fellow entrepreneurs, ideate even with their customers, right? Customers would love to give you these insights. You would be surprised how good insights they can give you once you start talking to them. So I think that would be my answer, Sheen.
yes, totally. I mean, like, so we I know that you know, that there's been a lot of listening to the customers happening over the last couple of years, and totally agree with that. And also, like, totally made sense when you mentioned that, you know, with an ecosystem like Shopify, and with the possibilities that it offers in terms of the plugins and the tools that store owners can pick and choose. I know there are like a million options to go and pick from, but figuring out the right tool could certainly, you know, make a huge difference during a time like this. And while we talk about the ecosystem having a number of possibilities in terms of plugins and stuff, and there's also a massive community that Shopify has, and I think that's also been something of a blessing for all the Shopify store owners. So I'll quickly move to Ashna and ask you something about, you know, how networking during a time like this can really help these store owners.
I think there's no, you know, the word networking in itself, like, for example, there's no empty networking anymore, right? That's something Kos often says to us, you know, she'd be like, that's so 1990s. Because at the end of the day, right now, everything, and that's what we believe in, it's about customer relationships or even relationships within the community, right? It's about adding value. Like,
Totally.
whether it's a good day or a bad day, and that's something that Naveen mentioned, right? Like, right during the pandemic, so many tools and so many companies came out to help each other, and that's what we're there for. Like today I'm here, so we're starting like a new relationship. It doesn't end today, it actually begins here. And so it's like add value, give first, and then you can also think of taking. But really, it's more than networking. I think it's really building a relationship, starting something new sort of space where even the ecosystem really adds value to each other.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think Navin and Harshal, both of you would certainly be in agreement with that, in terms of, how businesses have been helping each other, and, the whole concept of a community, and, trying to build relationships with customers or with other business owners has been like at the forefront over the last couple of years. Hey Navin, can you
Hey,
hear me?
sorry, I think I lost you there, Sheen, towards the end.
Okay. I was just mentioning how businesses have been like building relationships with other businesses, just like, how store owners have been trying to build relationships with their customers. And I think this whole the whole concept of trying to build real relationships from a business owner perspective has been at the forefront in the last couple of years.
Yes, that's true. I think I think relationships are very important, right? As Ashna mentioned, that there is no bad networking at all in any ways, right? I think if you just consider from a business perspective, bad networking, I don't think there's any bad networking. It's just the networking without an ROI or a value is just friendship, right? Even that is good. But I think from a recession perspective, you need to make sure that, you build a relationship, learn what works for them. I think share, the tips and tricks and whatever you have tried, right? I think that you don't need to think about, oh, what if they kind of steal my idea. There is nothing like it, right? I think you have your customers, they still love you. I think you need to focus on your why, and then make sure to keep digging deeper on that, right? I think as long as you do that, any insight anyone else shares with you is going to be helpful. You need all the information, you need all the ideas you can get, right? So that you can focus on the right ones which would work for you. And also think about, if you are not sure, you can experiment on the right ideas you think it will work for you, and make sure to dig deeper on that, right? I think that ways, I think relationships, especially in the industry, especially in a very tight-knit community like Shopify, is going to be very important. There are so many amazing Facebook groups who are helping out. There are so many different communities that are there. There are very good agencies, very good Shopify experts, and even the Shopify team themselves are writing some amazing blogs all the way, right? I think you have to be part of these communities. I'm not saying everything, whatever is working for you, whatever you feel is the right one, right? I think trust your guts and go with it. Spend some time on them, spend some time talking to people. I think that's very important. It'll give you a fresh perspective, and you'll be surprised over it.
Yeah.
Yep. I think today, if you look at, the situation is actually evolving so fast that the information which was available 2 years back is now outdated. During the pandemic, where everything stopped for a few months and then it took off like anything after a couple of months, things changed extremely fast. And if you look at the situation today, things are very different from what they were 2 years back. And the networking, it basically helps you. Your people who are in the same boat as you, the founders, they are going through the same situations, understanding how they're navigating and what problems they're facing. It will help you, give you ideas. It will help you understand the problem that you might face in the near future, and try to solve them and come up with solutions beforehand. So today, understanding or having someone going through the same situation is extremely helpful. As a founder, it is one of the loneliest place to be, honestly. And then the only people you can share those ideas with are your fellow co-founders and people and other founders from other companies who are going through the same thing. So it is absolutely necessary, something which one should keep in mind and one should always look forward to.
Yeah.
Totally.
I can so much relate to that statement, Ashul. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
like
That's actually both like very beautiful points, because when you look at knowledge absorption, you can sort of, because we're evolving so fast, it's really knowledge absorption and just having people like have your back who understand what you're going through. So yeah.
Yeah, I think all the points that Harshal and Navin just mentioned we'd all totally be in agreement with that. And I think with that, so we will do a sort of a roundup here, and I think that sort of brings us towards the end of the session. And I think there were quite a lot of takeaways that store owners would have had, and we've actually had a couple of questions pop in from our audience. So I mean, like even before we take those questions, I want to thank all three panelists for an amazing session and a lot of really valuable insights. So I'll quickly like read out a couple of questions. Feel free. I mean, like it's open. Like any one of you guys can take it. So Aman has a question. He says like there's a lot of focus on customer retention nowadays. How about focusing on customer acquisition to stand out from your competitors? Would this actually give a chance and to acquire a new customer before a competitor of yours deaths? Yes, I think that question is an open one.
Yeah, I think Harshul did have a beautiful point earlier about the same along the same lines, right? I think he should be the one to answer this.
Sure. So it is not about differentiating yourself from the competitors. It's also about creating a strategy that actually works for you. If it depends on what kind of products you're selling, what kind of value you're creating for your customers, and depending on that, you have to focus on whether acquiring new customer is the right strategy for you or not. For example, if you are in the FMCG category and you are constantly, people have to replenish the products, then generating more revenue from the existing customers makes sense because you're not spending additional money in acquiring customers. The cost of good is extremely low. So getting more number of orders will ensure that your LTV is high. If you go ahead and keep on acquiring new customers, which will come to that point where the CAC is increasing nowadays. So if you keep on acquiring new customers, you will not be able to generate enough money from the same customer because your LTV will remain low. So it depends on the kind of products you're selling. Today, we've seen that ads are not working as much as they were working a few years back. The CAC has been increasing, and there has been a shift in the customer acquisition strategy as well. So till the time you are trying to figure out those new strategies, the focus should always be on generating more revenue, irrespective of where it is coming from, whether it is the new customers or the old customer. So everything depends on the products, the kind of value you're creating, and the kind of or how much revenue you're generating from them. So depending on that, you have to always keep a balance between acquiring new customers as well as generating revenue from your existing customers.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid take on how they should be approaching retention against acquisition. And the other question that popped in was from Harini. So she asks, given the economic slowdown, purchasing tendency of our consumers will be reduced. So in that case, what's your opinion about giving credit/coupons to the consumers, which can boost the purchasing tendency? How would it impact the business and the consumers?
If we can take that, right? I think credits or coupons have always been amazing ways to it can kind of do multiple things for you. One, it kind of adds that impulse purchase behavior, and hey, they are giving me some sort of discounts, right? I think that will never go anywhere, right? I think that's been there it's such a basic human tendency. It's been there now for several decades, be it online, be it offline, be it retail, be it even someone giving you a call and telling you that, hey, did you check this website out? There's this you would have had a lot of calls with your friends about it, right? I think that is always an amazing way. But one thing you have to be very mindful is the profit margin that's associated, right? I think you need to make sure that your fundamental unit metrics are clear on that. If you already have the strategy, I think, and if you feel like giving that extra discount is not going to burn you out in terms of your runway in terms of your cash. It's going to help you, consolidate good quality inventory for, the next set of sales. I think you should go ahead and do that. And it also solves a couple of other important problems for you, right? The moment you add these discount code, and you should be very careful about, distributing the right discount codes in different channels. That way you can attribute it back to say that, hey, this is the discount code I gave in email. Looks like people love buying this more from emails. And hey, wait, I gave the discount code kind of, through Facebook ads or my social media channels. I think once you kind of do that and split it across, you would know like which channel you're acquiring these customers from, where they're purchasing from, what is their average order value for each of these different channels. And now you would know, especially during the recession time, where to really focus. That is going to be an important aspect, right? I think that it would be a very amazing way to solve a couple of your problems if done right. You can't just blast off an email saying that, hey, I'm going to do 50% discount or a 20% discount just for one day, because customers are cunning, right? They're going to buy from you, no doubt about it. They will love you for it, but it also just sets the expectation that, hey, I'm going to buy only from your brand if you give discounts. So you just need to make sure to tread carefully along that line and balance it out. So I think that's important. And any thoughts on that, Ashna? If you have any.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. I think one is definitely with whatever experiments you run in marketing, make sure you're tracking everything. Make sure you have your data set, because if you're running experiments but you're not really calculating what your ROAS is, if you're not really, data driven, it's going to cost you in the long run. And that's something Harshul also identified quite a bit. So that's key for sure. Also, like maybe, think of segmenting your sales for the right users, gamify sales. Like don't just go always with a plain old 50% off, 20% off. And then understand that it's often like, every time there's a sale, you're like, what's my new construct? How do I target my customers? So think of gamifying, use different strategies. We've done the BOGO or percentage. Think of maybe trying spin the wheel or just something absolutely new that can refresh your customer. Set something different for your high value users, set something different for your new users. So also segment your sales and just look how you're targeting, I would say. And while you're doing, like, it's a smaller point, but when you're, or maybe not so much a smaller point, where you're looking at sales, or when you're looking at sales, your landing page across, think of optimizing for a mobile user. You will always have maybe 80% of your traffic coming from mobile these days. And while we work on laptops, we sometimes forget that, is everything on my sale optimized for the user? And you might have drop off, so you might not have enough converts because you're not looking, or you might be missing out on the mobile experience. And that's maybe across, but yes, definitely for sales, like thinking of customer experience and journey in terms of mobile also, I feel, helps.
Yep. I can't agree more. Being in the e-commerce space for so long, right? I think it's very important, and that 80% is really important, right? I think you just need to open your Shopify dashboard or your GA dashboard and take a look at the traffic coming from mobile. If you haven't before, you would definitely be surprised by the volume, right? I think that's a very important factor, and you need to think about their experience, and that should be your primary focus. In fact, even the investments, right? If you are selecting a tool, you need to make sure how their mobile experience is also something you need to consider before making an investment into it.
Yeah, totally agree with that, Navin. Like, I mean, so we've been like emphasizing on customers trying to understand where their traffic comes in from, and how they can approach their traffic based on that, and improving customer experience as well on the same base. Okay, so like quickly trying to wrap up, like since we've sort of hit the time limit on where we're supposed to. Like quickly taking time again to thank all the panelists with us, and I hope the audience had a lot of valuable takeaways from the session. And I'd like to also mention that all our panelists would be happy to connect with you all on LinkedIn or over social media. So feel free to do that. And once again, 3 amazing perspectives on all of these questions, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. And before we close out, I'd like quickly ask you guys to just like quickly freeze yourself for a snapshot, so that we can use it across social media for a post. Yes, cheese.
Yeah. Hope I don't need to smile for so long.
No,
Awkward
no.
for people seeing the recording live.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm just
So,
kidding. Yeah, please go ahead if you haven't done. Yeah.
thank you once again, everyone. Amazing session and absolute pleasure having you all here.
Thank you so much, Shane.
Thank you so much, Sheen, and thanks a
Thank you.
lot, Ashna and Harshul. Yes, it was exciting for me, and I hope audience enjoyed this. And it was very informative, personally, right? I learned few stuff which I think is something I need to go back and think through, even research, right? I think that the amazing takeaways for me.
Amazing. Thanks so much, everyone. I think just having great panelists here is a very good conversation. So, yeah.
Totally on with you guys on this. So thank you once again, and have an amazing weekend. Hopefully we come again for a lot more amazing sessions like these.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.